Welcome to the Trigger Warning Talk podcast, where we have uncensored conversations, we exchange information, and we provide a ton of resources. This podcast is being presented and sponsored by Anchor, produced by Penton Pending Consulting Solutions LLC, and we are streaming on all major podcast platforms. As an informative piece, I always tell people if you are interested in starting a podcast, join Anchor. It's free. You can download it. You can do podcasts from your smartphone. You can do it from a tablet. You can do it from any device. You can record outside. You can record inside. It just gives you a wealth and bevy of options. And again, Anchor is the way to go. With that, I want to welcome you all to the Trigger Warning Talk podcast. Now, let me give you all the disclaimers before we jump right into it because that's just what we do. And remember, we have uncensored conversations. These are adults talking to adults about adult shit. We don't do fluff here. Fluff is an action word. That's what you do to pillows and add to cappuccinos and shit. So you're going to hear some very intense conversation and language. Beware. It may be triggering also because we're going to be talking about some deep stuff as we always do every episode. If you are triggered at any point during this podcast, seriously, if you are triggered at any point, call 911. I'm not going to show up, even though I'm a medic. She's not going to show up, our wonderful guest. And if you don't have an immediate need, you can always contact any of the resources that will be listed in the show notes when this podcast airs. We have trafficking hotline, we have the domestic violence hotline, we have the sexual assault hotline, and their respective websites. If you have substance abuse issues, be it alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, we have Al-Anon for those that support and love those that are affected by those substances. We have Al-Anon, Narcotics Anonymous, and Alcoholics Anonymous. We also provide you with the hotline for suicides. That's 988. That's the new 911 number for suicide issues. 988. It was made nationwide on July 16th of this year.
Mm.
I want to jump right into our guest who is in the building right now. Her name is Kendria Johnson. She is an educator living over across the pond in the Middle East, of all places. I got to get over there. I got my passport already ready.
Come on, come on.
I got to get Mrs. LP to update her because when we got married in 2019, her maiden name was on her uh, passport. So we're going to get all that taken care of. But anyway, your CV is quite extensive, so I'm going to give it the Cliff Notes LP version. So, Ms. Johnson comes from Dallas, Texas. She got a bachelor's in business management in '04. She got her master's in education and administration in '06. She began her career teaching fourth grade math and science. She's a STEAM person, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. We'll talk about that later. uh, she's she's like this brainiac, I'll call her, and I love it. I just love black educated folks. I just do. I do. I do. I do. I do. She also has dropped a new book in 2020 called Teacher of the Year, which is an introduction to her teacher for the number four life mentor program. This program will revolutionize the world of burnout teachers, which is very important. A lot of jobs are experiencing burnout, even as first responders. Kendra, you've had a very interesting life, and we talked about this yesterday.
Mm-hmm,
We're going to be talking about domestic violence and sexual trauma.
mm-hmm.
And for those that are listening, I want you all to understand that we cover four topics: domestic violence, human and sex trafficking, sexually based offenses, and missing persons. The missing person component, 99% of those cases are melanated men, women, and children. Kidnapping, abductions, runaways. The person does not have to be missing, but if they died under mysterious circumstances or they were found, but the person who maybe kidnapped them is unknown, we'll cover that case. We'll talk about that story. And we did that a few weeks ago with the Christian Ferguson case that we talked with the person about.
Mm-hmm.
I want to jump right into who you are real quick before we really go into our second segment, which is where we really deep dive into it. And I want you to let us know about your family life as a
Mm-hmm.
young person here in the States, because you didn't always live in Dubai.
Right.
So I want to welcome you first and foremost and thank you. Talk to us because, like I told you yesterday, 75
Mm-hmm.
to 80% of the talk time is yours. So I'm going to give you the mic and you just start from where you want to start from.
Okay. Well, that's that. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, I do like to talk. So, how are you today, Larry? I thank you so
I'm
much for
great.
letting me have this platform. I'm great as well. I am. Got some sleep, and I was ready for you. This is my only appointment today, and I was looking forward to seeing you and getting in touch with your audience. So,
Thank you.
I am delighted to be here and to be interviewed for this podcast. And if whatever you don't know about this man, make sure you find out. Okay, Google him. Make sure you join his podcast, and make sure that you get in touch with him if you have any questions or any concerns that you want to reach out to for. My name is Kendria Johnson. I am, like you said, a school teacher. I've been a school teacher for over 20 years now. Um, but my childhood, it didn't start out that great. I had pretty much, normal. Grew up in the South. Texas is one of the Southern Belt, Bible Belt. So I grew up going to church with my grandmother. But I was raised by my grandmother because my mother was having some issues, some emotional issues, with my father. Okay. And my father was in and out of jail. And so she was just in love with him and she married him and had two kids, me and my brother. But the problem with my mother started when I was around 11 years old, when my grandmother released me to her custody full time. Because before she was raising me, so it was like back and forth. And she was my mom on the weekend, and then I had my grandmother during the week. And I didn't know, I was just a child at the time, but my mother had issues with depression. She had issues with self-esteem. She had issues with loving herself and even liking herself. Um, and when she took custody of me at 11
Mhm.
full time, it was almost like a barrage and a full time assault on my self-esteem. I mean, I could never do anything right. I was always stupid, dumb, black, ugly, fat, no good, riding, all of these things. And I couldn't figure out where that was coming from. I'm like, and I would tell my people at school, my mother doesn't like me. And I don't know why. My mama doesn't like me. She doesn't like me. At 11, that's all I knew. And I went from being a little chubby kid at 10 to losing every single pound I had at 11 and 12. I mean, when I tell you she worked on my self esteem, her goal was to chip away at it. If I came in looking like, smiling or looking like I was happy, I don't know what you're smiling for. You ain't got no bills. Get your ugly ass in there and sit down.
Wow.
Okay. Well, all right. Hello to you too. And then when we were in front of people, she would say things like, watch her. She ain't gonna say nothing. Watch her. And then she would say something to me, and I wouldn't respond because she was trying to, gaslight me to, with an argument so she could berate me in front of other people. She loved that. That was her favorite thing, was to talk about me in front of other people. So she would try to, make me say something, and anything that I said, like, I don't know what you mean. What do you mean you don't know what you mean? See that? See how she talked to me? She's so damn ignorant, that. And I'm like, whew. So, needless to say, my self-esteem suffered for that. And in the age of 13, I started skipping school. I had suicidal thoughts. I wanted to run away. Trust me, I wanted to run away. I wanted to live with my grandmother. But my mother and my grandmother used to always fight about me. And now I know what that was about. But I didn't know then what at the time what it was about. And you ain't feeding my baby. And you need to stop talking to her like that. Da, 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 that. And so 13 years old, I started to skip school, and I started to cut myself, had the cutting issue, didn't know what that was at the time, but I played with knives a lot and I played with razor blades a lot because I was going to cut my throat one good day, cut my wrist one good day, right? I had no reason to live. If your own mother, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't like you, you always take it personally. It's not something you can equate to anything else. I don't know anything about depression, bipolar, mental illness. I don't know anything about that 11, right? All I know is my mother hates me. She hates my guts. And I couldn't run away because I didn't know where to go. And I know she adored my brother. That's a whole nother set of issues right there. And
Okay.
he could do no wrong. But me, she couldn't stand me. Now you can see my face, and I'm a dark skinned black woman, and so was she. And but she would always call me black this, get out the sun, you're too black, you're gonna get blacker. And what are you doing with all this, what you doing with this? Go what we need to go put some lotion on because you're gonna get you look black. You look black, 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 and black. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with being black. I couldn't figure it out. But like I'm like, this is the way I was made. Why,
Same complexion as your mom.
yeah, we're the same
Right.
color.
Same.
What's wrong with me? And I could never figure that out. But I met a boy, a little old ragtail boy that loved my color, said he loved me. And I can't say he wined and dined because you don't do stuff like that at 14.
Right.
And I ended up getting pregnant.
Okay.
Okay. He told me everything my mother never told me. He told me everything a father should have told me and never told me, right? That I was beautiful, that I was cute, and I was fine and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up getting pregnant at 14. Now, when girls get in that situation, when girls have babies that young, there's only three things that I've encountered in the people that I've talked to, and through counseling and so on and so forth. There's only really three reasons women or girls get pregnant at that age. One is usually sexual abuse or rape, or they've been exposed to sex too soon, and
Sure.
that's all they know.
That's all I know.
And so that's their way of expressing love to a man or to a boy, is to get sex or to have sex. And then the other two has to do with their self-esteem, their self-worth, and basically being ignorant of sex. And I was two of those three. I hadn't been physically abused, but as I've gone through therapy, I was definitely being verbally abused on a regular basis and emotionally abused.
Mhm.
So he supplied that comfort that I needed. It was only temporary, and of course, it didn't last. But I had this baby, and I tell this story in my memoirs. I tell this story, but I want to share the story with you, and I want you to hear my voice as I say it, because once you read it, you'll understand where the voice comes from. But I share the story about having the baby and being. I was convinced I was going to kill myself. I was sure I was going to kill myself, but I couldn't do it while I was pregnant because I wanted to give my child a chance to survive.
Okay.
But I couldn't do it. I thought about it, but I couldn't do it until I had the baby. So when I had the baby, I'm sitting in the hospital room, and the hospital bed seemed like a coffin. That's what it felt like. It felt like a coffin. My family comes to see me. This is the day I hated. I hated this day because my family had to come and see me and the baby, and they came to see her, and they all came at one time. My grandmother was there, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, all of them came, and my aunt comes in the room. Now, my aunt is another version of my mother. They sisters, same and the same, except she's a
Two
lighter
peas
version. Yep, 2
just
peas in a
like
pod. But I want you to think of her as the lemon in the family, because the lemon is high yellow and hard on the outside, and ain't nothing but sweet. Nothing sweet about her on the inside. Nothing. Think
okay.
about her. Let's call her the lemon.
She's
And
the
she
limit.
comes in, yes, bitter and very, very bitter. She comes in and she's like, "Come see, let me see the baby. Let me see it. Bring it to me. Bring it to me. Let me see the baby. Oh my goodness, she's so cute. Look at her. She's so cute. She don't look like you. Mm.
Damn.
And look at all this hair. Look at all this hair. She's so cute. She must get this from her. She got brown eyes too. She must get it from her daddy, whoever that is." And she hands the baby back to my mama. Now they leave, but I can hear my aunt. I can hear her in the hallway talking loud because that's what she does. He who talks the loudest is the most insecure. Remember that. And she's talking in the hallway to my family members, and she says, "This is the saddest shit I've seen in my life." Mm. I heard it. She didn't know I heard it until she read the book. Mhm. But in that moment, Larry, in that moment, a wave of something came over me. Something inside of me jumped up. It was like something, God Himself, like came down from heaven and pushed that self-esteem button in the back of my chest and said, "Mm-mm." I got mad too, and there was nothing I could do. I just was like, I want to go. I want to jump out that bed and go down the hall and just tap her on the shoulder, not fight, but just tap her on the shoulder, because I don't, disrespect my elders. No, I wasn't taught to do that, but I wanted to tap her on the shoulder and say, "What do you think? Who do you think you are? How dare you say that to me? How dare you say that to them? This is not the end of my life. This is just one mistake. This is not how my story is going to end." And I'd appreciate it if you kept your opinions to yourself, but I didn't say that because I'm a child, still 14 years old,
Still 14.
still 14. You don't disrespect your elders, right? But it was in that moment that I decided that I wasn't going to kill myself. I had to live. I had to live. I had to keep living because I didn't want my child being raised by these people. I did not want my child to be, be the next victim of these people. And I looked at my baby and I said, we got work to do. Now, the next few years weren't that easy for me because high school wasn't pleasant. It's not really pleasant for anybody, but it definitely wasn't pleasant for me. And if my mother didn't like me before I had a baby, trust me, all hands on deck. It was just free for all after that. And where else am I going to live? She didn't put me out, which is a good thing, right? I still thank her for that to this day. She didn't put me out of the house. But living in that house after that was just like I called it prison. I had to
Chris.
serve my sentence for the crime that I committed. I did. I said that out loud to people. That's how I attributed. That's what I looked like. That I felt like my life was like then. And she was my warden, and that was my prison, and I had to serve my time under that. But I I I think that as I got older, and then of course I graduated high school, even though they said I wouldn't. She gonna she gonna end up robbing out and having 3 more plunking. If I was you, I'd put out. I'd put out. I put out. That was every day. My sister, her sister and her would go at it about me almost every day. They would talk about me, and I'm sitting right there. I'm sitting
Wow.
right there in the
Wait,
next room.
wait.
Yeah,
You are not just there in the house, like
yeah,
you're in the
I'm right
room,
there.
like you're the elephant in the room.
Mhm. If she's so ignorant, I would put her out. She nasty anyway. I'd put her out. If I was you, I'd put her out. That was almost a daily thing. And then every 6 months, she was gonna put me out. Right? If I did something she didn't like, she's gonna put me out. So I used to tiptoe. I literally, Larry, would wait until she went to sleep to go eat because I was like, if I chew too loud, it was always a trigger for her. Everything was just a barrage of insults. So the final straw for me is not only did I graduate high school, but I wanted to go to college. I did. I still wanted to go to college. You know who encouraged me? Teachers. Those teachers at high school used to say, "Don't listen to them. You can still go. Don't worry about them. You can get you a grant and take your baby with you if you need to. Don't listen to your family. Go to college if you want to." And so I started applying, and the acceptance letters started to come to the house, and she would read them, and she would open up my mail and read them, and my mother would get mad at me. I don't know any parent. This is how you know something was wrong with her mentally. This is how you know she was emotionally damaged because what parent doesn't want their children going to college? But she got in my face one day, and I would try to always ignore her and not get into a confrontation with her because my mother's 6'1". I'm 5'6". She's a dark skinned woman, 6'1", and she's very intimidating. But she was a bully, but only to me, not my brother, not to anybody else, just me. And I don't know who you think you are. She got in my face, and she said, "But I'm not raising your child for you. You done laid up and had this baby, and you done hold up and had this baby. But I'm not raising your child for you, and you ain't finna leave this baby with me." I said, "I'm not leaving her with you. I would never leave her with you ever. She's going with me. If I go to school, she's going with me." And I stood up for myself, and then she hit me in my face. She slapped me in my glass. I had glasses on. She slapped me, and my glasses fell off face. And then I turned and I said, very slowly, "You heard what I said." And
How
she
old are
backed
you at
down.
this age?
19.
Okay, so you're 19.
Mm-hmm.
Your daughter is
4.
4.
Mm-hmm.
She slaps you because you want to go to college.
Exactly.
Not against her wishes. She's just not giving you the motivation to be successful with it.
How dare I want to go to college? No one in the family had finished college. Well, I mean, I'm going to be the first and was. And, that wasn't the reasoning, but I don't know what was
Sure.
going on in her head. I honestly don't. That's all she told me is that she wasn't going to raise my child for me. Well, I wouldn't leave her here with you anyway. That wasn't happening. And I said, "You heard what I said." And she backed down. And I knew then I had to get out of there. I had to leave her house. I had to. I didn't care what I had to do and what job I had to get. I think I had a temporary job at the time. I didn't care. I got my stuff and got out of there probably within the 3 months I got out of there.
Okay.
And my daughter started to mimic her behavior towards me. That was another no-no. I can't
How?
have that. I
How
can't
so?
have it. My daughter called me like a black chicken one day, and she called me by my first name, which I did not like. Like, I'm your mother. You don't call me by my first name. But she had heard my mother call me something and she had repeated it at
She
3 or
repeat.
4 calls. Yeah, she repeated it. And I was like, no, 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 no. this poison will stop. Whatever I said to myself, to God, whoever was listening, I said, this cycle is gonna die with her.
That's right.
I'm not taking it with me. It's not. I don't care what I got to do. It's not going to my. I'm not going to pass this on to my child, and I'm not going to raise her in this environment. So once I moved out, I went to school and I went to work. It
Okay.
was tough. That was probably the hardest part of my life right there. The first my mid-20s all the way up my 20 to 25 was pretty tough because I was trying to work and go to school, work and go to school. I would take my child with me. Like I said, I'd either find a babysitter because I didn't ask my mother, refused, and I would find a babysitter or I would take her with me. If I didn't find anybody to keep her, she would right there. She'd be in the study hall while I was at school and I was in class. Sometimes
Okay.
I'd bring her to class with me and have her do her homework in the back.
Wow.
I did what I had to do. I did what I had to do. Then my car would act up and I couldn't get a ride. I would Uber. They didn't have Uber at the time, but they would. The bootleg Uber was you call somebody to, if you're going that way, come get me
That's right.
because I'm going to school. My baby going with me. Get your backpack. We going. We be
And
at school
that
till
was
11:30 at night.
and that was awesome that your school allowed her to be in class with you. Like that's
Oh, they
great.
didn't like it. It was a liability, but hey,
They
where
didn't
is she gonna
stop it.
be?
Right. They didn't stop you. That's all I'm saying. You know, they ain't gotta
Yeah.
like it, but they did it. And I just want to mention it because there's
Yes.
still a lot of young ladies who take their kids to college with them
Mm,
and have been allowed to bring their kids in if they don't have like an early childhood development center or
mhm,
daycare on the facilities. I saw a story recently where this young woman, she had graduated college and she was holding her daughter in her hand. And then they had a picture beside that picture of her holding her daughter with her cap and gown on, with her teacher holding her baby as he was teaching the class. And I
yeah.
thought, and so they talked about the story about that
Mhm,
picture. Like that picture was even more famous than the picture of her holding her daughter with her cap and gown on. And I thought,
mhm,
she said, my instructor didn't even bat an eye when I walked in the classroom with my kid.
mhm.
So I want to commend you for getting through high school, getting through college, because you didn't only get a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
You went to postgraduate school and you got a master's in education.
Mhm. I definitely did, Larry. Yep. And that one was a little easier because it was online, half online, then half in person. So that one was a little easier. But that bachelor's that took me for a loop. And let me be clear. I want to be transparent with the audience. I had to quit taking classes up in there somewhere, like
Okay.
2 or 3 times. I had to stop. I would take a semester and things would get tough, and I had to go to work or work a second job.
Sure.
And then I had to do that, then go back and re-roll. But I nothing but death was gonna keep me from it. So I just kept going until I finished and got that bachelor's. So just to be clear, it wasn't smooth sailing once I enrolled. I would enroll for 6 months, get my coursework done, and then something would happen,
Okay.
right? And then I would, oh, maybe I would lose my job and I couldn't pay the rent or something. And I had to go focus on that first. And then a year later, I would do the same thing again. I think I did it twice. And then that third time, I was determined to finish. No matter what, I was determined to finish. Plus, I had some really good people in my life at the time that supported me. Now, were they related to me? No,
No.
no, no, no. Because what I was doing, Larry, was stupid. You need to get out here and get a fucking job like the rest of us, quote unquote. You know, I'm
Right.
working. I don't see what I don't know why I'm not. I'm not. What is I'm not doing that you should what I shouldn't be doing. I'm working. I'm going to school. What am I doing wrong? I'm not stripping. Nothing is wrong with that. There's anything wrong with that. But yeah, I'm not doing anything illegal. Put it that way. Okay.
That's right.
But I nothing to be ashamed of. But they when people can't see a vision for themselves, they can't see it for you, and they constantly want to report to you what reality is. Like go get a job because you need to work. But I know that. I know that I got bills to pay. I know I got things I got to do. But thank you for sharing. And I just learned to turn a deaf ear to it. Now, all this time that I'm going through this in my 20s, I was starting to get, emotionally damaged. The damage that had been done to me was starting to take its toll. And I was in it was undergrad actually. It was undergrad where I met a psychologist. I forget we it was sociology class, but I don't know why the psychologist was there. I don't remember if it might have been a psych class. But she was
Hold
there
that
giving a
thought.
speech. Yeah.
Hold that thought, because I want
Yeah.
to remind everybody this is the Trigger Warning Talk podcast, and we're getting ready to move into the meat and potatoes. segment, as I call it, because this is where, I mean, the first part, that was just a Cliff Notes version. She wrote a book about her story, and it's called
Mhm.
Fat Meat and Grease.
Mhm.
And so I didn't mention that earlier. I mentioned your second book, Teacher of the Year. But
Mhm.
this is the basis of why we're talking to Miss Johnson right now, because of this book that's basically an autobiography of her life,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? And
Thank
so
you.
if you are triggered at any point during this podcast, please call 911 if you have an immediate emergency need. Police, fire, EMS, all of the above. If you don't have an immediate need, we have a bunch of numbers that will be listed in the show notes: trafficking, domestic violence, sexual assault. We have Al Anon, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. If you're suicidal or know somebody is suicidal or you think somebody's suicidal, call 988. That's the 911 number for suicide issues. I want to jump back into our second part. You were talking about being in undergrad school.
Mhm.
You met with a psychology teacher who
Oh, who she came to speak to our class.
you came
She
to
wasn't
speak.
the main, yeah, she wasn't the main teacher, just she came and did like a PowerPoint, okay?
Okay.
And the PowerPoint was about emotional vampires.
Emotional vampires.
Yeah, and I remember this because I will never forget it. You talking about 20 years ago. 20 some odd. I want to say 25, but not quite because I was maybe 22, 23 at the time. But this was a while back, and I remember it like it was yesterday because I remember what she had on. I remember what she looked like because I went to see her after this particular presentation. But the presentation was on emotional vampires, and there were like 9 of them, and she gave them funny names. And I remember when she would describe each one of them, I'm like, "Shoot, that's my mother. Ooh, that's my aunt. Oh, that's my other aunt. That's the way they interact with each other. That's how they talk to us." One of them was, I remember, Perfect Patty. And
Perfect.
Perfect Patty was like a succubus. She would draw all the negative energy out of the room because she didn't want anybody to see her as a ugly person. So she was ugly to everyone else. Everything had to be perfect. Your shirt had to be perfect. Your face had to be perfect. If there was nothing perfect about you, she was going to point it out and say it loudly. That's my aunt
Okay.
because she always had
That's
her
the
makeup
that's the
perfect.
limit.
That's the lemon.
That's the limit.
That's
Okay.
her.
Perfect
That's her.
Patty.
She gonna make sure everybody feels insulted. When you leave her presence, you're gonna feel drained. That was the purpose of that presentation. Like every time you meet these people, you're gonna feel drained. One was a negative Nancy. I'm like, that's my mother. Pessimistic all the way. Just nothing in the world is right, and everything is wrong, and everything is wrong about me, and woe is me, and if the whole world is terrible, and I don't even know why you want to keep living in it. This person is the most miserable human being on the planet. They don't see anything good in anything. And they don't talk positively and they don't see the world positively. She called them negative Nancy. I'm like, that's my mother. I'm crying too at the back of the class while she's talking. You know those stadium seatings they have in colleges.
Yeah.
I'm way at the back. I get closer. When she starts talking, I get closer because I'm like crying because I'm holding back tears and crying at the same time because I can't. This is me. This is my life. And I remember one was like a Mopey Mike. Mopey Mike was just somebody who was completely depressed, and she described all the symptoms of depression. And
Okay.
those were the 3 that stood out to me. There were several more, but I'm sure you could Google it, emotional vampires. But
Okay.
she gave them funny names. And I remember them being, people that I knew personally. And I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to be any of them. I don't want to be Moby Mike. I don't want to be Negative Nancy. And I don't want to be Perfect Bad. I don't want to be none of them." I'm crying. I'm crying.
Got the ugly cry.
So I asked for her number. Yes, it was ugly too. And I asked for her number, and I'm like, "Can I call you? Can we get sit down?" And she says, "Sure," because she's a psychologist, and she had an office somewhere close, and it didn't matter where it was. I was coming to see her, and we
Okay.
sat and talked. And it was supposed to be an hour-long session, and she let me talk for 3 hours about my childhood and the people that I grew up around, kind of like what we're doing now,
Hmm.
except I'm healed. At the time, I wasn't healed, so you can just imagine how emotional that was for me to just release some of it. Because I'm like, I don't know why this woman doesn't like me. Why does she hate me so much? Da, 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 da. And she told me what she thought the issue was. She gave me some advice. I came to see. I called her a lot, and I was like, couldn't really afford her at the time.
Okay.
But I remember that space, being in that space made me gave me wings. It gave me power back. It made me it tightened up my self-esteem. It made me know that for a minute there I wasn't crazy and that there was not a whole lot I can do about my mother. There's nothing I can do about my mother or her sisters. But I did have the power to do something about, me. and to change the trajectory of my life and my emotional state. And that's when I fell in love with, going to a therapist and going to see somebody and going to talk to people when you're, not having a great time in life. And as a black person, I'm sure
We talk
anytime you
about
talk
it.
about mental illness or mental health, it's, oh, you crazy? When did you go crazy? That's for crazy people, ain't it? No, it's not for crazy people. Because I think made the mistake of telling one person that I was taking antidepressants. Those crazy pills? Yeah.
Remember what I said yesterday when I said a great icebreaker question that I found? This is my own little research is ask somebody what's the first word that comes to your mind when you hear the words mental health. I either get crazy, lunatic, or insane. And if I had $1 for every time somebody said crazy in that order, I would have a bank account that looks like Elon Musk or Warren Buffett because especially with us melanated folks,
Hmm.
we think mental health equals crazy. Mental
Yep.
health equals lunacy. Mental health equals insanity. We don't want
Hmm.
no parts of it. Ah, dog, nope. And I love the fact that she talked about emotional vampires. And here's why I'm gonna tell you this quick story. I
Hmm.
love vampire stories. So my father-in-law has a picture of a guy, and this is a real person. His name is Vlad the Impaler.
Hmm.
I walked into his office and I see this picture on the wall, and it's Vlad the Impaler. It's like a kind of a black and white artist drawn picture.
Hmm.
I say, where did you get the picture of Vlad the Impaler? He looks at me and is like, how do you know about Vlad the Impaler? I said, I'm a history buff, like, you
Hmm.
know. And so I proceed to tell him about what I know about Vlad the Impaler, and he's impressed. Now, this is the first time that I met him at his house, because this is where Mrs. LP and I got married, which is her
Hmm.
childhood home. And he's a retired pastor.
Okay.
And so I talk about this story, but I also add this other component to him. I say people that are the the Nancys and the Patties
Hmm.
and all of these individuals that you just named, they are like vampires. And he said, what do
Hmm.
you mean? I said, think about the story about Vlad the Impaler. He was the person who was the basis of Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Hmm.
Think about the character of a vampire. A vampire, typically, when you see that person, they're young, they're vibrant, they're wealthy. They live in some gothic place, but like some of these newer movies, they're just living somewhere in America or wherever.
Hmm.
But they're seductive and all this stuff or whatever. They have certain things that they don't want you to know about them. One is the mirror. So
Hmm.
I explained to him how the mirror plays a part into these narcissists.
Hmm.
Remember, vampires, you can't see their reflection in the mirror, right? But they can see themselves in the mirror. And according to Bram Stoker, who wrote the movie or wrote the book Dracula,
Hmm.
he explains why the mirror plays such an important part in the fear that the vampire has of being not only noticed, because if you see somebody and you're standing in the mirror and they don't cast a reflection,
Mm.
something's wrong.
Yes.
So they cover the mirrors, they break them, all kind of stuff. Now, the reason that they don't want you to see that they don't cast a reflection is not only that, but they can see themselves in the mirror. And when
Hmm.
they see themselves in the mirror, you know what they see? They see their true identity. They see
Hmm.
themselves, and typically these vampires are centuries old. They see
Hmm.
themselves as a century old vampire. They don't see themselves as a young, vibrant LP, or young, vibrant Kendra, or anything
Hmm.
like that. They're 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 years old.
Right.
And the longer that they look in the mirror, they start to die. It ages them
Hmm.
rapidly. It's almost like being in the sun. Think about a narcissist.
Hmm.
They focus on you. It's like
Hmm.
I can talk about me, you can talk about me, but I can't talk about you, and you ain't gonna talk about you.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional vampires. And
Yep.
when I told him that story, he was like, "Wow, I didn't think about it like that." I said, "I have," because I
Mm-hmm.
was a victim of domestic violence with my ex-wife,
Mm-hmm.
victim of domestic violence in my last relationship before I got married to Mrs. LP. So I
Mm-hmm.
know all about the emotional vampire situation
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about every day, all day, and twice on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Enough about me. I want to get back to you with this therapy.
Mm-hmm.
What type of therapy did she provide to you? Because I'm a person that believes in traditional and non-traditional
Yeah.
modality. What did you do?
Well, Larry, that was like a profession. That was she's a psychologist, so she had a practice. So she just, she would talk at the local colleges for free, and that's how she got her clients. That's how she
Mhm.
got me. But she really liked me as a person. And let me just be clear. Let me go ahead and give this plug. She was a black female.
Okay.
Okay, black female psychologist. Probably another reason why I related to her.
Okay.
But and there's not that many of them. Let me be clear on that as well. So that's why it was impressive for her to even come out there and talk to us and put her name out there and all of those great things. Um, but and I need to see if she's still practicing because that was 20 years ago.
Okay.
20 some years ago. So I need to see if she's still practicing. But I fell in love with her listening to me and also being heard. And every time I would say something negative about myself, she's like, "That's your mother talking. I want to know what you think about it." No one had ever said that to me. They haven't ever pointed those things out to me. To like it's not me. It was so ingrained in me. It was so inside of me that there's something wrong with being black. There's something wrong with being, overweight or whatever it is that she would talk about me with. And she was like, "That's your mother talking." And she was the first one. Now she didn't do all of the deprogramming. I had to do some work on my own, and
Okay.
I just kept going to see different people because I kept going to see people. I told you I went to my job when I started teaching. Little did you know, now just a little bit of this story is when you start teaching children, they will show you they are your mirror. They could be your mirror
Oh yeah.
every day, all day. If you want to know who you are as a human being, if you're a good or bad person, step in front of some kids, okay? Because them kids they're gonna point buttons, they're gonna push those buttons, and they kept pushing buttons with me, and it wasn't their fault. I was being triggered because I hadn't dealt with all that emotional baggage from my childhood, so I had to go back. So they had a program at my school. 6 times a year, you could go to a therapist for free on them.
Okay.
It was part of the insurance program. It's called the ear program, and I took advantage of that. All 6. Matter of fact, it would be it would be an hour and 15 minutes. They'd have to stop me from talking because I unloaded and I unleashed and I let them do their job. I let them work on me and give me homework assignments and tell me what to do and how to handle these issues, these situations, and people inside of me or me inside of my life. And then I went to see a therapist. Sorry, a psychiatrist because they had the medicine.
The medicine, right?
They got the medicine.
Right.
So I went to see a psychiatrist. They gave me a form. They sat me down. They talked to me. They had me fill out this long 500 questions. They put me in a room and made me do all 500 questions. And they're like, "Yeah, you can benefit from this medicine." And then they prescribed some antidepressants for me. Okay. Now, did I tell somebody? No, I only told one cousin, and they went. It was like she taking crazy pills. She take crazy pills. So I stopped telling people that, but I did do that work on my own. And then in my 30s, things generally they started to get better. Now, probably your audience is wanting to know how's my relationship with my mom now and my relationship with my
Absolutely.
aunt now. They probably going to want to know how it is now. Let me tell you, they ain't changed that much. They're still who they are. They still, you come into, you in a room with an emotional vampire when they come into the room and the whole temperature of the room changes.
The,
You can feel the tension when they
does it
come in
get
there.
colder? Does it get hotter? Like,
Oh, it get cold. It get cold. It just, woo, what is that? What's that? Is that a chill? Yeah, you feel it, especially if you know them and you like, oh, here she comes. Here she comes. Yeah. Here you go. Ooh, I look at that. I got something to do. So I would use the tools that were given to me now because they haven't changed, ladies and gentlemen. They still who they are, even though the book is out. The lemon aunt lemon ain't called me in about 3 years. She's so mad. When I come in the room, she walks out now. See, it's the other way. Before I would walk out because I don't want to hear that. You come into the room, she's like this, Larry. I like that shirt, but you could use a little bit more more lotion on your
but
face.
the butt monkey, that I'm telling you, the butt monkey. People got to understand
Oh,
that.
that's so nice. You look so nice, but
But
yeah.
everything you said before that just got
Hmm.
file 13. Like you
Oh,
shouldn't
Larry,
even
you
do
a AMT. You a EMT. What they do? What do they do? That's what she's gonna do.
it.
She's known for this. She gonna find a way to tear down whatever you got going on. You bought a BMW. How old is it? I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. So now the tables have turned because now that the book is out, people in the family have read these stories and they were like, I can't believe you went through that. They cried. My cousin called me and said she cried. She
Tell
said,
us
I
about
did
the
not
book.
believe. I cannot believe you went through that. I said, yeah. The book is
Yeah,
Fat
let's
Meat Ain't
see.
Greasy.
Now, for those that are listening, we do audio and video. So she's
Hmm.
showing the book. It's called Fat Meat Ain't Greasy by Kendra J. Her
Hmm.
last name is Johnson. And
So
it's a
that's my mother. That's my grandmother right there. And
okay,
then
so you have your
yeah.
mother. Wait, your grandmother's in the middle.
Yeah. And then that's me. And then
It's
I'm
really
in the
like,
green. And
oh,
then my other mother is right there. And then that's my daughter. The pregnant one is my daughter because she was pregnant at the time when I wrote it.
oh, okay. I
And I
love
told you the story about my daughter, right? She said she read the first two pages, paragraph, chapters, and she was like, you left some stuff out, didn't you?
Oh,
Because I
in
had
the
already
first,
told her the story.
this is the
I
first
told her these
draft.
stories. Yeah. The
Okay,
first draft, I decided to let my daughter see it. Of course, I have to because I want her to be included. My daughter and I are very good friends.
okay,
We don't have the kind of relationship me and my mother had. My daughter and I are really good friends. We respect each other
gotcha.
to the point my daughter didn't even cuss in front of me. Now I do, but she don't cuss in front of me. And she said, "Mom, you left some stuff out, don't you think?" You left some stuff out, right? And
He leaned in with it. Oh,
didn't you leave something out? I was like, well, I don't want to hurt nobody because that's the goodness of my nature, my heart. I don't want to hurt anybody. She was like, I don't care. She said, it's your story. Who cares what they think about it? You need to tell people what happened to you in the hospital. You need to tell people how how that made you feel. You need to tell people how she called her mom, my mother, mom. Tell her how mama treated you. You need
okay.
to tell people that. Because I remember being in that house and I remember some of the things she would say to you. You need to tell people that. And
I
so I
got a
did.
couple. I got a couple questions.
Hmm.
You did something different than I've seen and that other authors have not done. Most authors have chapters.
Hmm.
You don't have chapters in your book. Yours are entitled lessons. So
Hmm.
chapter one to you is lesson one.
Yes. Each
Why?
each chapter is a lesson. Why? Because these are the lessons that shaped me. And I didn't want it to be about griping. That's another reason why I didn't want to write it down because I'm like, it just seems like I'm whining because everybody's had a rough childhood, Larry. Seriously, everybody's had something rough in their childhood, right? Right? Everybody. And they all have a story that'll make you cry. So I didn't want it just to be about, me whining and bitching. And what somebody said, bitching and whining. I think that was my lemon aunt that I heard she said it out. She didn't say it to me. She didn't talk to me. But I heard she said that to one of her children who in turn said to me, the whole book is her bitching and whining about her life. No, it's actually not. It's about me telling my side of the story and giving solutions as to how you can overcome it.
Thank you for saying that. Because I always say dialogue without solution based plans of action, I'm out. Don't even include me in. I'd
Hmm.
rather sit on the couch picking the lint out of my belly button than be
Hmm.
involved in a dialogue only conversation. That has its place, but a lot of the stuff that we're talking about,
Hmm.
you got to have some solution based plans of action on how you're going to deal with it, overcome it, survive it, all of that stuff, or whatever.
Hmm.
Being intentional is the key. With your book, when you wrote this book, how many lessons are in there?
20.
20.
Exactly 20. Hmm.
I presume that was with a purpose.
Yes. 20 lessons for 20 years of growth, 20 years
20 for 20
of expeditiously because it's 2019. This is only what 3 years old here.
years
And
old.
so 20 years of growth when my epiphany, when I sat down and talked to that lady at 22, 23, that epiphany of it's not me. It ain't me and it never was me. You know that? It was never about me. I was just a like almost like a rag doll in her house and she just spit all of that venom on me because of how she felt about herself. She hated her life. She hated her skin color. She hated being single, and she hated, the way she was treated as a child, and she hated all these things about herself, and all the things she called me, somebody called her that, and that was the best she could do. She didn't know no better. She just didn't know
What
no better.
What did they say, your aunt and your mom specifically about the book? Because I presume that your mom has not either read the whole book or the lessons that pertain to her.
I don't think she's. You asked me that yesterday too, and I'm like, I don't think she's read the whole book, and I don't think she's read the part about her, because there's a whole chapter dedicated to her and who she was,
Okay.
and who I describe her as the warden.
Okay.
And my aunt has read the whole thing, and she there's a sense of shame, but she doesn't admit it. But now when we interact with each other, she doesn't hug me, she doesn't look at me, she doesn't talk to me, and she leaves the room now. I'm like, where you going? I want to tell you about my trip to Italy. You know, I want to talk about, I want to talk about all these places I've been, all these things that I've seen, all these things that I've done. Where you going? Because I'm over it. Not only have I forgiven her, and I've forgiven my mother, and I've forgiven myself for believing those lies, I've forgiven them. I've moved on. But she's gonna hold a grudge probably with me to the day she passes. I don't. That's on her. Has nothing to do with me. That's on her. It has nothing to do with me. But there's a sense of guilt
That
that she
is awesome.
carries because she doesn't want to admit it. My brother is like, she just won't want to admit it. She don't want to admit it. I said she doesn't have to. Her behavior admits it to me. Her behavior has said, you know what, I did something wrong and now I'm ashamed and embarrassed about it. Told me I wasn't welcome at her house anymore. Well, it ain't like I go there anyway. I don't want to go to the hell mouth. You talking about Vladimir's cave? I don't want to go to I don't want to go to Vlad the Impaler's cave. Why would I want to go there? So yeah, it's been a journey, but I know your listeners are probably like, what's your relationship now? That's it. It's either non-existent or it's very polite or very cordial. They wait till I leave the room to talk about me now. So it's like before, remember I said they would just, I'm sitting right there. She's so fucking stupid. Look at her, she's so ignorant. Yeah, she came here the other day and she was eating some chicken. She's like a damn fool, eat some chicken. I couldn't do nothing right. I promise you. I chewed wrong, everything. I wore the wrong clothes.
You
I
know,
nothing.
what is your daughter? How is her relationship with all of these individuals now?
She
Post
gets
book.
along post book. Everybody's quite respectful because they know that she's gonna come tell me whatever they say. But it doesn't matter what they say. She doesn't hurt my feelings by anything they say because that was understood. But
Okay.
let me give another tidbit. It took me 5 years to release that book though, even though it just came out in 2019. That big book was written probably about 2015. It was
Okay.
written way before that. And I finally had the courage to give my daughter those first two chapters. And that's when I was like, I think I'm gonna publish it this year. I think I'm
Okay.
gonna publish. She had gotten pregnant too. And I was like, I think I'm gonna publish it before the baby get here. Because I didn't want this next generation to be told who I was. I want to tell my own story.
Yes.
I don't want anybody in my family telling my story for me. Because they're listening to the wrong people. Now you heard it from me. And so it was a journey to get to this point. My family is, I've called my mother once a month. I still talk to her. I have to. She's my mother. I call her once a month and I put on a timer. The timer is 7 minutes because about 5 minutes into it, she might start.
Yeah.
And so if she starts at 5 minutes, then I'm like, oh, look at that. I got to go. Okay. All right, mama. See you later. And if she doesn't do anything crazy in the first 7 minutes and she's okay and she's telling me just about her day and all that kind of stuff, and she says nothing negative because I'm looking for it, I'm hearing it, listening for it, then I will speak with her up until the 7 minutes is up. And then I'll say, okay, you ain't got anything else you want to tell me? Did you get the money I sent you? Okay, great. I'll talk to you later. But if she starts in that first 7 minutes talking, that when that timer goes off, look at that. That's my phone. That's my
Armageddon.
phone. Time to go.
Look,
Look at that.
that's an
Jesus is coming. Look at the clouds. He's coming right now. It's time for me to go. Find something to do. You got to find something to do.
Armageddon.
Again. You're
Look,
like, what is that?
when we get off this interview, I want to tell you the Armageddon story and why.
Yeah, I want to know where that word came from. Where the word came from. Why is that the safe word?
Why that's that. Okay, we'll talk about it later. So
So yeah,
I want to.
that yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Look, you're always making me laugh when I'm talking to you. So I'm trying to get back focused. Look, this is the Trigger Warning
Okay.
Talk podcast. We have uncensored conversations, just like you've heard, because these are adults talking to adults about adult shit that
Hmm.
happened back when we were not adults. that's still happening to this day all across this world. Uncensored conversations, exchange information. No therapy here, folks. We don't do that. And we have a
Mhm.
ton of resources. If you need help, seek help.
Mhm.
Remember those two words. If you need help, seek help. Every day, all day, and twice on Sunday. Call 911. That starts the documentation process. It gets everybody involved. If you don't need it, if you don't need it immediately, still seek help. Contact the domestic violence hotline or website. Contact the sexual assault hotline. Contact the trafficking hotline. Contact Al Anon. Contact Alcoholics Anonymous. Contact Narcotics Anonymous. If you're suicidal, please call 988.
Mhm.
That is the specific 911 number here in the States that will help you with any suicidal issues. Since we're talking about the States, that segues me into our last part.
Mhm.
You live in Dubai,
Mhm.
Abu Dhabi.
Yes, right next to Dubai. Yeah. I
Why?
do. I love it. Oh,
Why
I
Dubai?
love it. Well, Larry, the second book is about my journey as a teacher. So as a teacher, I was burnt out. You know, the situation that's in America right now, the education system where they can't find teachers. There's a teacher shortage. Wasn't that different when I left? And I had some, you know what? To be honest with you, it probably was triggered by some stuff that was going on in my past. And I was like, I'm not going to be mistreated anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have this no bullshit policy in my life, and I'm like, you're not going to treat me this way. You're just not. I don't care who you are, especially a job. And you're gonna treat me like I need you more than you need me. That's the other way around. And so those people at school probably started to act like the people in my family. And I was like, I'll be damned if I come up in here every day and did be treated like that. That ain't happening. So I said, you know what, deuces, you can have it. And then I just had this opportunity dropped in my lap. I filled out the application because I was fed up one day and I didn't finish it. And the people called me anyway. Called me anyway. It was like, we see you teach math and science. We need math and science teachers over here. We can pay you this much and we pay for your houses and we can pay and it's free dental and medical. Would you be interested? Absolutely. Go ahead and finish that application. We finished that application on the phone. And 2 weeks later, I was in an interview. And then a week later, I got my contract to come here. And I never looked back. Once I got here, it was scary, but once I got here, things started to mellow out for me and my life started to change. That's when I started to focus on the book too. That's when things started to pour out of me because I had more time on my hands as a teacher. I had more time because my day is over at 2 o'clock. Done. I mean, not after school stuff. Done. I can go home. Well, that's not thing. That's not a thing here in America. That's not a thing. You stay there till the kids leave, and 2 hours after that, and then take your stuff home with you and still work. Keep working. They don't do that here. And so the book comes from a place of listen, teachers, you in charge of this life, and you only have one. Okay, you only get one. You can get another job, but you can't get another you. Take care of you. Take care of you. And so that's where this comes from. Because my nature, Larry, is when I learn a lesson, I teach a lesson. When I learn something, I teach it. That's why my first book has to do with lessons. When I learn these lessons, I want to share them so people don't go through the same thing I went through. Was a chapter in my book, a lesson in my book is, when you're the smartest one in the room, leave the room.
Hmm.
What you doing now? What you don't argue with fools. Get up out of there. What you doing? Don't wrestle with pigs because the pig likes it. Don't do that. Right? And so all of those things that I learned, I teach. It's just who I am. If I learn something from this call, I'm gonna call somebody and say, guess what I learned today? From Larry, talking to him on the phone. I always do that. That's just who I am. I'm a recyclable. I'm a conduit of knowledge. But one thing I want to leave your viewers with. I want to leave your viewers with it because I feel like someone in your audience needs to hear this. I don't know who this person is, but someone in your audience needs to hear this. If you have completely fucked up as a parent, I want you to admit it. Don't find your kids and just be like, I messed up. It's my fault. I did it because
Mhm.
that is what's missing with our parents. They don't want to admit that they made mistakes. When I don't have no problem with it. I screw my child up all the time. All the time. I made mistakes all the time, and I admit to it. I could have done that better. I should have done this different. But going through life trying to cover up your mistakes and saying it's them is you do. No, go ahead and admit, you know what, I did the best I could, but I know I messed that up. I know I wasn't there for you. I know I didn't do right by you. But I want to say I'm sorry. I know that's the second step and nobody wants to do it, but just admit that you weren't perfect as a parent. Someone needs to hear this. My mother still doesn't admit she's wrong. Trust me.
Mm.
She don't admit it. It's all if anything, she's not the way she is, but she's the way she is because somebody else did it to her. But she doesn't want to admit that she is who she is because of her choices. And it's going to change your trajectory and it's going to change your life if you just say, you know what, I fucked up. I wasn't the greatest parent. I wasn't the greatest dad. I wasn't the greatest mom. But hey, child, even if they're grown, go to them and say, hey, I'm gonna try to make it better. I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna do better. It's my fault. I'll do better. Somebody needs to hear that because it's not too late. It's not too late. I'm still waiting on the day when she apologizes, but I know I'm not. If I never get it, it's okay. She's already forgiven. But I can handle her whatever she throws out because I know it's coming from that dark place.
You almost got me. Telling you, I'm like,
Uh oh.
you almost got me with that
Uh
one.
oh. It's gonna be Armageddon for you.
I almost said the word. I was like, biting my tongue. I'm chewing on my cheek on the inside. I'm like, man. I almost
Just admit
said
it.
it. I,
Mhm.
that's powerful. Damn. I want you to tell us how we can get in touch. How everybody that's listening, watching, both, either or, because this is our shameless plug set.
Shameless
What you
plug.
got coming down the pike? What I'm talking about, I don't care. Everything, all the stuff that you're doing, where you're speaking, where people can get the book. I'm talking about
Yes.
the official copy, the
Mhm.
autograph copies, where they can see you, where they can talk to you, how they can reach out to
Okay.
you. And we'll put at least two of your main links in the show notes,
Okay.
like we do with everybody. But I
All
want you
right.
to take over the mic and tell us, here's your shameless plug section.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Larry. I appreciate you. Again, my name is Kendra Johnson. I am the teacher coach. Okay. I help good teachers become great. Now, I have a book that just dropped. It's so hot and new
Let's see it.
that I don't even have the link for y'all, but I do have my email address. If you
Okay.
get on my email address, my email list, I will send you the link as soon as this is out, and you can get the ebook and you can get the
Oh,
audio copy. I got the audio link. I can give you that. But if you want any information on in me, there was I think you had it up earlier. My website,
yeah.
my everything you want to
Yeah.
know about me, and that my first book is on there, my bio is on there. So some videos of me speaking on there. There's some commercials that I've done on there. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. There
So
we go.
it's www.iamkendria.com. That's IAMKENDRIA.com. So go to that site. It has my contact information, it has my email information, it has my schedule is not on there because it changes. My next public event is August 27th. I'm going to be doing a book signing here in Dubai. I'm going to be doing a book signing here in Dubai for everybody who buys the book with that link. So they bring the book, you get that link. If you get on that link, you would get a copy of the book. And yeah, that's my trainings. And then those are my trainings on that one. And then the book is the hook. Once you get the book, people usually reach out and say, "Hey, can you come and be my coach?" No problem, because I do a coaching and mentoring program for teachers who might be struggling to stay in. Okay. Now, if you're ready to get out, we can help you with that too. We can coach you out of that too. But at the same time, some of our teachers, they love what they do. They're like me. I love what I do. I
Okay.
love what I do. However, sometimes I'm exhausted, and teachers need help sometimes putting boundaries in place. Yeah, they need help sometimes putting the boundaries in place. If you want me to come and speak, there's my email. We can work out some situations where you want me to come and speak because I don't speak for free now. My time is valuable. My experience is invaluable. It's valuable. It's
Right.
not for free, but I will come out and speak to your. That's a picture of my city where I live.
Dubai.
And yep. And then so my coaching program has been going on for 3 years. I've been keeping it low key, but it's time for me to clone out the box and just share it with the world. So that's why we're here. That's how we got here, just to be able to tell people, hey, I'm a teacher coach. I'm a life coach, teacher coach, and I help people transform their lives and transfer and change the trajectory of their careers by just implementing 6 little tools, 6 little things that I go over in these workshops. And then once you finish the workshop, we do one-to-one coaching if that's what you want. Once a month, I do group sessions. So teachers call from all over the world and they can just chime in and start sending me questions, and I answer those questions. I do a little master class, and then we go over what's bothering them, what's troubling them. And you'd be surprised, it's not money. Teachers are not
Now,
leaving the profession because they're not getting paid enough. It's not money, it's respect.
is respect.
They feel disrespected. They don't feel valued. They don't feel like their job was worth anything to the people around them. They're being overworked and overloaded. But it's not because of the money that they're leaving. For me, this is what I do to make money.
Sure.
See, I take what I do. I take what I do well. I turn it into a business. They can do that. We can help you do that.
Last question.
Yeah.
This is the end question, and we talked about this yesterday.
Okay.
If Kendra could write a letter or an email to her younger self, what would she say?
Okay. Deep breath. All right. The last time I remember being happy was age 10. So if I were to write a letter, it would be to that girl, right? That's the last time I remember happy because at 11 I moved to with my mom full time. And if I could go back and talk to her, I would say, I'm gonna get through this. Okay. I would say, okay, it's not gonna be easy. Okay. I don't want you to take anything that's about to happen to you personally. It's not easy because it's not about you. And it's about to be tough for you. But I want you to stay true to who you are. There's a fire inside of you. There's a light inside of you that if you just hold on to it, it'll come out. It'll spark. But it's not gonna be easy. These next few years are tough. The people around you are hurting. They are very, very damaged and hurt people. And you are a small child, so they just take it out on you because you don't have a voice yet. But once you get your voice, it'll take hell and high water to shut you up. So I want you to hold on to this 10-year-old self because this is the last time I was happy. And hold on to that joy. Hold on to your grandmother's hand. Go remember your grandmother's words to you. Hold on to that because that's going to be the thing that helps you get through this next part. And then this next part is the roughest of all of it. But if you can make it through that, let your light do not let anybody dim
Damn.
your light. Don't
Yeah.
let them take it from you because that's the goal. They're hurting. They're in the dark, but don't let them take your light from you. And that's what I would tell her. I made it through that. I did it.
We did it because
I do.
I got a whole stack right here. I was ready,
Well,
boy.
you
I'm
already because you
a
gave me
whole
warning. Had you not get boy,
see.
if you
I'm telling you, when I do
if
these
you hadn't have said
pre-interviews,
it, if you hadn't have said it, and now you asked me that question right off the bat because I did, and I was like, oh, that's a tough one
it
because I
is.
hear my grandmother's part. I hear my grandmother's voice saying, "Baby, you all right? Don't listen to them. You gonna be all right. Don't you listen to them." I think my grandmother sent one of them babies one day to talk to me because, and I'll tell you this story real quick. I was having a hard year. It's one of them rough years, and this little girl cussed me out. And I was like, ugh, I can't go to jail. I can't go to jail. I gotta go, I had plans to go to, I can't go to jail right now for these little kids. And I was about to give up. There was one of them years I was like, you know what? I ain't gotta do this. I have a master's degree. I don't have to do this.
That's right.
And this little girl who I hardly ever came to school, she never hardly came to school. She came to school this one day, right after Christmas break. And she said, Miss, do you know that when you walk and you talk, there's this light that follows you? There's a light that's behind your face and it's always around you. It follows you everywhere you go. And don't listen to them, miss. They're stupid. Those little girls, they're stupid. She said it in her best, sixth grade way. They're stupid, miss. Don't listen to them. You're a good teacher. You have a good heart. I can see it. She gave me a hug and left. I didn't know what to say to her. I didn't. I cried like a baby all the way home.
I'm like, man, I would have. That's a mic drop moment. Like, I'd have been. You could have bought
I,
me for
m-
a penny.
I
Yeah,
the out of the mouth of babes, right? Out of the mouth of babes, and I was like, "This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I can't give up on my future and my destiny because this is what I'm supposed to be doing." But that's something that my mama would have said. Don't you let nobody take your life from you. You a pretty little black girl. Don't you let nobody take your life from you. You know that. And but I owe everything I am to her, and I owe it to her to survive and to get it right.
and you are not only surviving, you are thriving. You, you know. keep that light shining bright. Keep and continue being the diamond that you are.
Hmm.
You're representing the melanated folks from America in Dubai well. I can't wait to just come over there. And definitely when Mrs. LP and I do our world tour, that's going to be one of our stops. And you and I are going to have some tea
Yep.
because I know they don't do now. Do they have alcohol over there?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's some right here over here, about next to this. It's literally right there. I can reach to it. Yes, they do. Yes, they don't believe in it like in public, of
No,
course.
no
But
public
yeah,
intoxication, but
yeah, they don't believe in that. You go to jail for that here. But you can drink all day. It's a liquor store down the street, right there, downstairs. They're
uh,
everywhere. Yeah.
okay.
They
So
don't
yeah,
know that they're called liquor stores. They don't know what they call them. Oh, they call them
what
spirit stores. They call them spirit
spirit, yeah,
stores.
like here in the South,
Yeah.
spirits, yeah, yeah.
Get you some spirits. Uh-huh.
Get you some
But yeah,
spirit.
it's very Western here, so you won't be too shocked. You will be shocked when you see a Popeyes and a Burger King right next to each other at the airport. But other than that, you're gonna be like, what the?
Oh well, that's the airport, right?
Yeah,
But you
no, it's
know what?
everywhere. They everywhere. So it's
As a
McDonald's up the street.
as a teacher, are you doing like English as a second language, or like what are you teaching?
So they bring us over here because we are, Western. They want Western teachers teaching their kids English, math, and science.
Okay,
And so they everything else is in Arabic, but those three subjects have to be taught in English. And so they come get us from here, from America, UK, Australia, New Zealand. They get us from all over the world. So when I get on the elevator, I can hear it's nothing to hear five different languages on the way down. It's a beautiful place to expose your children to. Come
that's
bring your kids here so they can see all these nationalities and all these races coexisting in the same space, and everybody looks different. Everybody speaks a different language, and yet the locals here are very welcoming. They're very welcoming. People think that because they're Muslims, they're going to be like what you see on television. Stop looking at television. Get outside your house. Get a plane ticket and a passport, and get outside your neighborhood and go and see the world for yourself. Don't
yes,
listen to what the news says, because
yes,
I've had several conversations with people who think that all black people live in the ghetto,
right.
and we all live in the ghetto, and we all live together apparently. Oh, you're from America. Do you know Larry? Yeah, yeah. Me and Larry stay together. I don't know everybody. No, I don't know Larry. No, I don't know Larry in the States. You know how
Now,
big United States is?
now you from St. Louis, you might have a different conversation because
Everybody know Larry. Oh yeah,
everybody,
I know that. Yeah, that one.
we will be like everybody in St. Louis is a Kevin Bacon. You know that 6 degrees of
6 degrees
separation.
of separation. Yep.
If you're from St. Louis, you are a Kevin Bacon or a Kavina Bacon or something like
Yeah.
this. Look, look, we got to cut this short because we're gonna be on
Okay.
for like 3 hours if we don't.
Yes.
I want to
Yes.
thank you for. I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Trigger Warning Talk podcast. I want you to stay on once we end the broadcast though, because we'll
Okay.
finish talking. I want to jump over to our last segment, which is the missing persons component.
Okay.
Every segment we do, we cover a missing person case. Every one. 99% of them are black and brown folks,
Hmm.
but we don't stop there because missing people are missing people. So, with that being said, I want to bring on the screen here this young man. Hold on, let me bring it up real quick. His name is, and I hope I'm not jacking his name up, Koi Dang Vu. KHOI DANG VU. This is from the FBI's website, so FBI.gov. This is dated April 7th of 2007, and he was from Vancouver, Washington. So his date of birth is July 26, 1981. Hair black, height is 5 foot 5 inches, sex male, place of birth. He was born in Vietnam. Eyes brown. He weighed 105 pounds, and for race they have Asian (parentheses Vietnamese) descent. Here are the remarks per the FBI. Khoi Vu has been deaf since birth, cannot speak, and has a mental disability that leaves him with the skills of a 10-year-old. Speaking of 10-year-olds,
Hmm.
he communicates by using ASL, American Sign Language. although his skills are very limited. Vu does communicate through writing and by using general hand signals. And since he is very outgoing, he may approach anyone. Vu enjoys playing basketball and video games. He is familiar with the Albertsons grocery store in his neighborhood and may confuse other Albertsons stores with that one. Although born in Vietnam, Vu is an American citizen who understands, reads, and writes English. He does not understand Vietnamese. Additionally, his right arm slash hand is slightly deformed. And some of the details that they post is Khoi Vu was last seen by his family sometime between the hours of midnight and 1 a.m. on the morning of April 7, 2007. Now, this is Pacific time. So midnight and 1 a.m. would be like 3 to 4 a.m. Eastern time. So this was on the morning of April 7, 2007 at the home which he shares with his family in Clark County, Washington. They noticed he was missing around 8 a.m. on April 7, 2007. He apparently left the house without his favorite jacket and his bicycle, which is his primary mode of transportation. He has never disappeared at night before and has never left the house alone for more than an hour or two at the time. If you have any information concerning this person, let me restate that. If you have any information concerning Khoi Dang Vu, because he's a human being, please contact your local FBI office or the nearest American embassy or consulate. The field offices that they list are Portland and Seattle. I'm going to put the link to this missing persons poster in the show notes also. So you will be able to click on this. I was trying to find a news story. There is a YouTube story that a young lady did about Khoi Vu. It's like 17 minutes long, and I just didn't want to play it because that was just going to eat up a lot of time. But if you Google Khoi Vu or you go on YouTube and put his name in there, and you got to scroll down a little bit because there's a couple of Khoi Vus that are in there, and this has nothing to do with him. You will see the 17, it's like 17 minutes and like 20 some odd seconds. You will see that story. So, and I may put both of those links in there. Matter of fact, I'll do that. I'll put the FBI link and the link to the YouTube channel story in the show notes. I want to thank Kendra Johnson, Master of Education. She's doing some great work over across the pond in the Middle East. She has a great set of books that I recommend you purchase. I think I'm going to have to order the paperback books because I want my stuff autographed. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. No problem.
And I'm a collector of books. You don't see all the books that are around me right now. Like I
Okay.
got that's a whole nother conversation. Look,
Right.
I want you all to understand something. When we do the Trigger Warning Talk podcast, we talk about real shit because real shit happens every day and twice on Sunday. And it happens to us a lot of times when we're young, during our innocent period. We don't come into this world expecting the shit that we deal with. However, the cards that you're dealt does not mean you don't have a winning hand or hands. You got to keep playing the game. You got to keep playing the game. You might lose this hand, play the next round. Live in awareness, don't live in fear. I'll say it again. Live in awareness, never live in fear because why? You know, we're all here for a purpose. And that young lady, that elementary school, was it middle school?
What lady?
The
What
young lady
letter?
said that you have that light shining on
Oh,
you.
she was in middle school, sixth grade. She was a sixth grader that told me that. Yeah.
That middle schooler who said that to you, I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, that right there almost made me say Armageddon. Also, I want
Me
to thank
too.
you so much. And I want to let you know that when this podcast comes out, I want everybody to not only listen to it, if you can watch it, you will be able to watch it on Spotify and on our YouTube channel, which is Pending Consulting Solutions LLC. So remember that you can watch it and listen to it. We're streaming everywhere, even Audible. I just found out we are on Audible also. So there's
Good.
like 30 platforms that are available that you can listen to this podcast on. With that, I want to thank you all and always tune in every Thursday for a new episode. With that, LP out.
Bye, y'all.